4:30. So we'll start now. So as I said, welcome to the Veloso Tours webinar. Thank you for joining, and I hope that these reports from Mexico and images of Mexico will inspire you to travel to Mexico whenever you feel that it's a good time for you to go. My name is Paulo Veloso. I'm the Managing Director of Veloso Tours, and the content of the webinar today is going to be a little introduction on Veloso Tours, an introduction on Mexico, and then my colleague Nick will take you through a journey through Mexico from the north through the south, and we will have live reports from Mexico City and from San Miguel de Allende in the colonial cities in the north, and then from Oaxaca and in the mountains, the indigenous centers around San Cristobal de las Casas and Merida in the Yucatan, and then from the beach at Tulum. And then at the end, we will have some suggested itineraries so that you can see how this whole range of destinations can fit together, and questions and answers. If you could please use the chat on Zoom to send any questions. My colleague, as we go along, Berenice will collate the questions and then we will have the answers at the end. May I ask you also to have the settings of the Zoom meeting on speaker view, so that the Zoom will move from one person to another depending on who is speaking. And also I would like you to ask you for a bit of patience if there are any technical issues to deal with, because as you can imagine, we are becoming more and more ambitious here with this new technology, which I found wonderful. And so if there are any technical issues, we'll just have to resolve them as we go along. So Veloso Tours is a tour operator. We specialize in Latin America, and our aim is to provide authentic experiences of each destination so that you can have an in-depth perspective of life in these different places that you are visiting. And your visit will be enhanced by the tour leaders, the guides, based on your interests, which we'll ask you to convey to us and we convey to the guides. And that way, they can share an understanding of local life, people, and customs. We focus on the local guides so that we specify who the guides are that are going to meet you at the main destinations. So you know who it is and they know you. And also, we have, well, as you say, there are over 20 years experience. So we've been doing this for a long time and to many clients. We also have a feature on itinerary download, which we find very useful for you to experiment, and we'll go into that more detail later. We're not going to talk so much about the COVID at the moment because the situation is always changed, and we expect that you will be traveling sometime in the future. So we'll look at the situation whenever you decide that you would like to travel. But we have this booking flexibility whereby you can register to travel any time you feel in the future, and pay a deposit only when it is permitted and it is possible to travel to Mexico. And when it comes to making the full payment, then those full payments will be refundable if by any chance it's not possible to travel. We also wanted to point out that there's travel insurance with cover so that you can travel with the adequate travel cover. These last few months, we wanted to point out that we have produced a new brochure for Latin America. It's on our website and you can request it. It's quite likely that we will have sent it to you, but if you were in our database in the past, But if by any chance you do not have a brochure, then you can have a look on the website or email us or phone us and we can send you one in the post. We had the time to go through a lot of our photographs that we had in our database. And so we have updated our website with new images, new destinations, new tours. And we have also created this system whereby you can select a departure date and then you can download an itinerary with a day-by-day summary of all the dates when you'd be in each destination based on your start date, which is a very useful tool for you to experiment with different destinations and how long you would be in each place and when you'd come back and so on. So this applies to all the tours on Latin America, China, and India. Mexico is fascinating. We've been organizing trips to Mexico and traveling there for many, many years. As you can see, we have over 20 years experience. And it kind of appears to us that Mexico is to North America a bit like the Mediterranean is to Europe, whereby you have a lot of large destinations on the beach for people who just want the beach. But if you travel a little bit inland, you find a fascinating culture and a fascinating combination of variety of interests that really means that it's worth exploring. And so you have colonial cities from the Spanish presence in Mexico, where a lot of the architecture and the buildings have been converted for various other purposes now. And that combines with this amazing color. The colors of Mexico are based on earth colors, warm earth colors. The modern architecture of Mexico is based on modern with roots in the traditional. So it's very cozy and very warm, as we can see here, for example, in the haciendas of Mexico, which have been converted into boutique deluxe hotels with gardens and pool and wonderful cuisine, as we will see. Mexico also has a heritage of Mayan and Aztec and pre-Mayan cultures that built these magnificent pyramids that rival the ones of Egypt, which are possibly more well known than the pyramids of Mexico, and that's actually stretched through to the Yucatan and Guatemala and Belize. But these are wonderful remnants of the past and a very rich and strong and powerful culture that existed before the Spanish arrived. There's also wildlife, and in the Yucatan particularly, you have these nature reserves where you can find flamingos and really look at nature at its pristine best. The beaches have a range of hotels, as I mentioned, from the large for charter flights, which is not quite what we organize, but also smaller hotels and wonderful boutique hotels, wonderful character that you can choose and even ask us, and we can match your preference with various hotels from large, from small, from isolated, so that here we list some of the ones in the Yucatan, but they're actually stretch also on the Pacific coast to match your interests. These are the hotels, some of the destinations on the Pacific coast. Zihuatanejo is a lovely bay, Puerto Vallarta, and outside Puerto Vallarta, and even Baja California has some wonderful hotels. So here we are now. Let's say we have flown in and we're going to start in Mexico City. That's usually the main point of arrival with Cancun. So now if I'd like to ask my colleague Nick to continue and take us on a tour of Mexico, starting with Mexico City. Nick.
I think you're on mute, Nick, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, apologies for that. Just had a little issue with the remote control there. Wouldn't let me unmute. Let's see if we can go back to the beginning of the...
I think you need to share your screen again, Nick. Yeah, that's it. Good, thank you.
I'm going to share my own screen. Apologies for that. Let's start this again. Thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully everyone can see that now in full screen.
Yes, we can.
Good, excellent. Yes, sorry about that. As Paolo said, we've now flown into Mexico City. Mexico City is the capital, of course, of the country of Mexico, and it's a big city. It's a cosmopolitan city. What you find here is really a big mix of ancient traditions of the Aztecs, but mixed with Spanish colonial architecture throughout, as well as modern style, as you can see here in this wonderful theatre, the Palacio de Bellas Artes. You really find throughout the city symbols and really things relating to the whole past of Mexico, from the Aztec symbol of the eagle with the snake in its mouth perched on the cactus. You've got wonderful hotels and restaurants that are set into Spanish colonial buildings, lots of wonderful buildings with patios, beautiful fountains and things like this, and lots of colours, as Paolo was mentioning before, the warm colours of Mexico. And in fact, it's quite common to find restaurants and cafes in the patios and squares inside these traditional buildings, where you can stop and have a drink or lunch, for example, in this wonderful, very characterful surroundings and atmosphere. It's also a great place for the arts, Mexico City, and in fact Mexico in general. Here you can see one of the monumental murals by the famous Diego Rivera, depicting the Aztec past, some of the Mexican forebears, if you like, and the way that their society and their city would have looked before the arrival of the Spanish. You also find, quite modern arts. You see the art market, for example, on the right-hand side here of San Angel, and even just the very colourful flowers, and even these false paper flowers on the left-hand side, depicting the sort of very colourful nature of Mexico. Mexico is also very well known for its foods, local food. On the right-hand side, you can see a veritable feast of exotic fruits and vegetables, and it's quite common to see these sort of piled up in the street markets and local markets where you might go on a trip with your guide. And on the right hand side, a small informal cantina where you might pick up, or local people might pick up, a little snack or something to take with them, like a taco or something like that, very traditional Mexican food. And you can try any of those things if you'd like to taste the local food with the help of your local guide as well. Music is a big part of Mexican culture and identity, obviously influenced quite a lot by the Spanish, and it's not uncommon in bars or restaurants to see perhaps a trio of guitar players singing, like this sort of serenading with romantic songs in the evening, which is a wonderful experience. Mexico, as Paolo mentioned, is the site of many ancient civilizations dating back thousands of years. Mexico City is no exception. In fact, when the Spanish arrived, the Spanish conquistadors, they already found an enormous city in the place where Mexico City is now located, and you find archaeological sites all around this area. This is the pyramid complex of Teotihuacan, which is a short distance, about an hour's drive outside of the city of Mexico City. And you can see here the sheer size of the complex and the height of those pyramids you can see in comparison to the height of people, and just appreciate how much time and effort and energy was spent building these enormous cities and complexes. Mexico City also has an excellent museum on ancient history and the ancient civilizations of Mexico, where you can see not only the history of the Aztecs, but actually the history of all of the different civilizations stretching back thousands of years through Mexico, and they have many fine artifacts there as well. So again, ancient history and ancient civilizations really permeating the whole of modern Mexican culture and identity. One of our preferred local guides in Mexico City is Raul Gonzalez, and we're actually going to go live to him now to get a view of what's happening on the street today and what local life is like there. Hello, Raul.
Hello, Nick. Good morning. Okay. Good morning, everybody in Mexico. Good afternoon in London. I am Raul Gonzalez, one of the tour guides in Mexico of Veloso Tours. And right now I'm in downtown of Mexico City, which is a very interesting part of the city. And I hope that through this webinar, you could have a good flavor of what the city of Mexico has to offer. So let me start by saying that walking through downtown, looking at the buildings, you could see the three different cultures that Mexico has gone through. Pre-Hispanic, colonial, and modern. So buildings from the 16th century to the 19th century. Buildings like this one, which dates back to the end of the 1700s, built officially as the National School of Engineers. It was designed by an architect from Spain, Manuel Tolsa. Nowadays, it is a museum of minerals. As well, we could see this equestrian statue to Charles IV, King of Spain, at the time of the Mexican independence. It also was designed by the same architect Tolsa. Therefore, the name of this plaza, Manuel Tolsa. On the other side of the plaza, we could see this building from the beginning of the 1900s, and it was officially the Secretary of Communication and Public Works. Now it is the Museum of National Art. So if you're here, try to allow yourself some time to visit this beautiful museum. The plaza here is beginning, it's kind of early in Mexico City, so people are just arriving, but later on this will be crowded. In this other corner, we can see also another building from the beginning of the 1900s. This is the main post office. As we're walking through here, it's also a mosque. It's a beautiful building. And then let me just cross the street. Here you could see a street book, outdoors bookstore, just the beginning. And here you could find new books and second-hand books with prices. On the other side of the street, this French-style building from the beginning of the 1900s. Now through here, we could have a little view of the main post office building. See how beautiful it is? So don't miss it while you're here. And by the way, distances in Mexico City are taken from here. This is 0 kilometers. Numbers of buildings and kilometers to the different cities begin right here. By the way, from Mexico City, within a distance of about 150 kilometers, you can visit other towns, very nice towns, like the silver town of Tasco, or you could visit the colonial city of Puebla, a colonial heritage of Mexico by UNESCO. as well as Mexico City, cultural heritage of the world. Now look at the traffic on this street, which shows you how things are going back to normal. What the building we're seeing here is the most important theater in Mexico. Shows the very best gets to perform here. International performances of all time. Although the most popular is the Mexican folkloric ballet. While in Mexico City, if you happen to be here on Wednesday or Sunday, do not miss the Mexican folkloric ballet. Also, the building is a museum. It's nicely decorated with murals painted by some of the famous muralists in Mexico, like Diego Rivera, Jose Clemente Orozco, David Alfaro Siqueiros, and some others. Then, on the back of the theater, you could see a very traditional park, Alameda, very old one, as well as modern buildings, offices, restaurants, banks, museums, and so on. There you could see better, the Palace Fine Arts, built with marble from Carrara, Italy, and designed also by an Italian architect. This other building is the main offices of the Mexican Bank, the National Bank of Mexico. Along this street, you can also see buildings from the different centuries of Mexico. Probably you could see at the very end a bell tower, which belongs to the cathedral, and that's where the very center of Mexico City, where the National Palace, the City Hall, the oldest city hall in Mexico. And so here is about time for the 11th. So it's time to take some coffee in a building like this one. See this restaurant, very popular, Sanborn's, the House of Tiles. It has its outdoors section, but I think it's much nicer inside. So let's take a look. In this restaurant, you can try some of the Mexican food. Chilaquiles, enchiladas, pozole, and probably the best and most popular, the tacos. The building is also a department store, a little one. Perfumes, magazines, books. But the nicest is here. There you see. I hope you can see the atmosphere of the building. People enjoying their breakfast and later their lunch and later dinner. And in most cases, this is also with music. See? So if you have some time, you could go for some dinner. Now again, part of the department store. And we're gonna go out through here, which we will come to one of the pedestrian street in downtown, a very busy street. All the way to the center on both sides, again, buildings from the colonial time. Like this church, San Francisco Church, which it was part of the oldest convent in Mexico. If you notice, it has sunk. And when you're here, you'll find out why. But Then again, you could see modern buildings, as I said, like this, the first skyscraper in Latin America, Latin American Tower. On the very top, there is a restaurant where you could have a very nice view of the city, 360 degrees view of the city. In my opinion, the best time to go there is before dark, because you could see the city with daylight and then nightlight while having a drink. See, so here you could see, as I said, modern shops of all kinds, boutiques, opticians, bookstores, cafeterias, bars, places to dance. And also, besides this, Mexico City has a lot more to offer. So you could, for instance, visit the Museum of Anthropology, which is also a must. You could visit the National University of Mexico with its murals made out of mosaic. Or you could go to the Mexican Venice, the floating gardens of Xochimilco, where you could have a boat ride. See, look at this other street, people getting just ready for the day life. And if you're around here and you feel a little tired, or too tense, you could have a street massage for probably 10 UK pounds, 15 minutes, which is gorgeous. If you hear these people talking here, they're offering to make your reading glasses in 1 or 2 hours. Something interesting. And then this other building from 18th century, a residence from 18th century, and then the residence of the first emperor in Mexico, Agustin de Iturbide. Now a museum, and is owned by Banamex, National Bank of Mexico. So again, look at all these people doing their own business, and after a while, probably beer, coffee, some lunch. So after this little taste of honey, I hope you would want to come to Mexico. So start planning your trip with Veloso Tours and start packing. So we're here waiting for you. So see you soon. Okay, let me.
Thanks very much, Raul. Good to see there the sights and also the sounds of what's happening on the street in Mexico City. Everyone out there on the street, and very much life going back to normal. Thanks, Raul. As you can see there, ancient and modern, very much blended in Mexico City, and makes a very interesting place to visit. Particularly as the start of a trip in Mexico. We're going to move on now to the city of San Miguel de Allende, which is just a couple of hours north of Mexico City, just up here, as you can see on the map. San Miguel de Allende is very well known for its well-preserved colonial architecture. Wonderful colours, as you can see here. It's also a haven for artists with many small art galleries and cultural centres, and a wonderful laid-back lifestyle. As you can see here, wonderful preserved colonial architecture with the bell tower, this absolutely unique neo-Gothic parish church, which is in the centre of the city. It's also got many historic hotels that have been built into old houses or colonial era buildings. And as you can see from here, it's on the side of a hill, so in many places you get a wonderful view over the rooftops and to the valley and other rooftops below. And on this side you can see some of the spires and other church towers from this wonderful balcony. And this is the rooftop garden and bar of one of the excellent hotels where you could relax, for example, have a drink while listening to some traditional music being played and enjoying the wonderful view of the surrounding city. Of course, like many places in Mexico, there are wonderful colourful markets. Here you can see with the wonderful fresh flowers and piñatas and these kinds of things, the traditional games. And on the right-hand side, a man selling the traditional foodstuffs, the dried chilies, for example, that go into making the traditional cuisine there. And a trip to the local market would definitely be something that you do on a city tour with one of our guides. Outside of the city, there is also an archaeological site called Cañada de la Virgen. Again, another example of pre-Hispanic pyramids and the remnants of ancient civilizations, which, if you're interested, can also be included in your trip there. We're going to go live now to Tenshi, Israel, who is our local guide in San Miguel de Allende, and he's going to show us what local life is like there and what's happening on the street right now. Hello, Tenshi. Hello, come in.
Sorry, I didn't have my. Hello, how are you? My name is Ángel Israel Arteaga. I'm a professional tour guide here in the beautiful city of San Miguel de Allende. My friends call me Tenshi, and so you can do. Today, I'm going to show you one of the most vibrant and incredible little cities in Mexico. This little city, it is located in the very core of Mexico, as you saw in the map. We also have the opportunity to be a natural and cultural frontier that is delimited by a volcano that we have here to the southeast. This is the last volcano to the north central part of Mexico, so there is a lot of cultural interchanges since the pre-Hispanic times. And it's something that you can see today. There's a lot of things about this city that it makes it a part of the World Human Heritage. Right now, it is coming back to life, and I want to show it to you. Check this out. The city, it is located in what it is called El Camino Real de Tierra Adentro, a very important highway in the Spanish time that it was basically for extracting all the products that they came from the mines, basically over there at the beautiful city of Querétaro. So this street, for example, is one of the most important streets in San Miguel because it crosses the entire city from east to west. So in this place, for example, we can see this type of palaces. The palaces are located here. Like, for example, this one is from the 18th century, and it's part of the heritage of the Familia de la Canal. This is a part of the Casa de la Cultura Banamex, as well as the one that we saw at Mexico City. This is another museum here. It is gorgeous, and it's another example of the architecture here in San Miguel. Let me show you a little bit more. The art of San Miguel, it is incredible. You are going to be able to find fine art crafts such as this. And there's tons of stores that they can offer you very incredible items. Like, for example, one of the things that I love is that we have tons of decoration stores here where you can find incredible things like this. Let me show you this bazaar here. Look. For putting you in perspective, the type of art that you're going to find here in San Miguel, it is unprecedented. Even you can find in our galleries M.C. Escher's, Pablo Picasso, Salvador Dali's, Andy Warhol on sale. So come over here, explore our galleries, and perhaps you can get one of these great treasures back home. You don't have to go all the way to London or to be in Paris to buy one of these great arts. So come to San Miguel. One of the things that it's very important here, for example, it is this place. This is a convent, but back in the old days. But today it is what we call La Escuela de Bellas Artes. Escuela de Bellas Artes is one of the most important art schools in Mexico. Oh, sorry, we need to pass through here. It's for our safety. This is some of the efforts that we are doing over here. Well, this art school, it is one of the most important in Mexico. And it's why we have so many expatriates in this town. In the town, we live 190,000 people, and the 13% of the population is an expat. And they came all attracted by the art schools here. So, for example, people as important as Diego Rivera gave classes in this institution. So, attracted by them in the 40s, a gentleman called Sterling Dickinson came here, following the lead of some friends that they are living in town. And he realized about the level of artists that we have here. So the gentleman, since he had some agreements with the Central of Intelligence of America, the CIA, they started to send us all the veterans of war to be part of an art program in town. So little by little, we have a lot of people from all over the world that they have come to San Miguel. And now we have this vibrant little city that it is unique thanks to the multicultural lifestyle that we have. All the city, it is crowded with art. There's galleries, look at this, I love this. All this beautiful wardrobe, it is painted by hand here. This is Shindashi, it is incredible. You should come here and buy something. Hi. One of the things that we also, oh, look at this. Painted by hand. So, one other thing that we are very proud of, it is that this place, it is full with traditions. San Miguel, it's a mecca of the art and the aircraft, and the traditions here, it is an example of this. So during the year, we have 94 patrimonial holidays that they are performed by the locals, and they are traditions that they are original from the town. We have 94 patrimonial holidays, so there is tons of party in the town. If you're looking for a place nice and tranquil, this is not your place, because we're very, very loud here. In a normal year, we have a lot of firecrackers, we have a lot of dancers, we have a lot of things to see and to enjoy in the town. So that's one of the greatest attractions of my town, and also that's one of the reasons why we are a part of the World Human Heritage. San Miguel is also known to be the forge of the National Independence War. It's because of our hero of the Independence War, Ignacio José de Jesús Pedro Regalado de Allende y Unzaga. So basically, all the Spanish, all the Independence War that we fight against the bad government, it was planned here. So the city, it is very important for the history of Mexico and America as well. The expatriated community here has helped a lot to the community as well. So today, San Miguel also has tons of non-governmental organizations. Actually, we have more of these organizations per capita than any other city in the world, in Mexico, sorry. So the presence of the foreigners here is very important for the society. Look at this. The climate, It is one of the reasons that attract these people here. It's almost perfect. Right now we are 25 Celsius, so more or less is the same amount of temperature that we are going to have the year long. And that's why the people that it comes here, they feel very comfortable. The people that they come from Canada and United States, they feel very comfortable because of the weather that we have. Then this over here, it is a museum. Let me show you this. This is El Museo de Casa de Allende, one of the greatest examples of the architecture in San Miguel. And this is our hero of the independence war, Ignacio Allende, who used to be the owner of this great house. Today, in this very, very beautiful museum, you can learn a little bit more about the foundation of this town, the heritage of the independence war, and of course, how the people in the 19th century used to live. This gentleman over here, this statue over here, it represents what it is Fray Juan de San Miguel, one of the first Franciscan friars that they came here, and he actually gave the name to this beautiful town. And right now, I am at El Jardín Principal. As you may see, everyone here, it starts to come. There's a lot of foreigners today. There is as well a lot of Mexican travelers. So one of the things here, it is San Miguel. It is the second greatest attraction of Mexico without pitch, just after Teotihuacan. So the city has always been working for the tourism. That's why all these matters make us a World Human Heritage since 2008. And at last but not least, I have this view for you. This is La Parroquia de San Miguel Arcángel, one of the greatest examples of the architecture in the 19th century. This church, it is considered unique in the world because of its look. The builder of this, it was called Don Seferino Gutierrez, and he basically took the inspiration out of a postcard that it had from the Cologne Cathedral in Germany. That's how he ended up with this neo-Gothic style, that it's not considered Gothic because it has a very special look. So this is our greatest treasure of San Miguel. And what you are going to be able to see here, it is around the 52 blocks of the part of the World Human Heritage. So right now, San Miguel, one of the things that we hope to see the next year, it is our traditions to come back. Right now, they are all canceled, but they are going to be coming back in no time. So I hope you enjoy it. So this has been Tenchi from San Miguel de Allende, hoping you to travel safely and to see you soon with your friends and family around here.
Thanks very much, Tenchi. It's great to see their, life going on, very much back to normal. That they're ready for tourism. Lots of foreigners there on the street, as you mentioned, and also to see the amount of art that is just visible from walking around on the street. And one of the things, particularly, that you find in San Miguel, but also in other parts of Mexico, is handicrafts and arts, not only things that you might put on the wall, but also colorful things that you might wear, or something to put on the mantelpiece, for example, to display to friends as a reminder of Mexico and your trip to Mexico. And that's one of the things that I particularly like, looking around the little handicraft markets in all different parts of Mexico, but very particular and important in San Miguel de Allende. We're going to continue our journey now through Mexico, further north up to an area called the Copper Canyon, which is right up here in the north, not very far from the border with the United States. And the Copper Canyon is a network, an enormous network of canyons in this very rugged half desert, half sort of scrub region in the north of Mexico. We recommend starting in Chihuahua, although you can go in both directions. Chihuahua itself is a very characterful colonial city. It was also important in the Mexican Revolution, and you can see a monument to that here. And just after spending perhaps a night in Chihuahua, we then journey east to the frontier town of Creel, which is a small town up in the mountains. So you leave the plains and you go up into the mountains to Creel. Not a huge amount to do in Creel. It's very much a stopping point, but in the area around it, you have wonderful mountains, lakes, as you can see here, and forest, and even an enormous waterfall to visit. And from here really starts the exciting part of the train journey. You're by this time up in the mountains, traveling through this rugged area surrounded by pine forest, over viaducts and through tunnels, until you reach the station of Divisadero and the next door station of a place called Posada Barrancas. And this here really that you start to see the absolute majesty of the canyon. As you can see here, the enormous canyon behind, with a little handicraft market just on the edge of it. And the canyon is absolutely immense. You can walk, take little walking tours around the edge of it, or even go across these hanging bridges which crisscross some of the edges of it. And I don't know if you can see here, there's also a cable car that goes from the edge down into the middle of the canyon and back up again. This is one of the best hotels, the Hotel Posada Barrancas, and as you can see here, it's really perched on the edge of the canyon for amazing views into the canyon. I took this picture at sunrise, which is why you can see a little sort of golden tint, and it was a wonderful time to get up early and then see sunrise over the canyon. Following day then, we can continue on the train journey through the mountains, through different parts of the canyon, and this is really again the absolutely stunning part of the scenery as you wind your way through different gorges and valleys, around the edges of rivers, etc. An absolutely stunning scenery to enjoy. Finishing then in the small town of El Fuerte, which is just short of the bigger city of Los Mochis, which is where the airport is and where you would go fly onto your next destination. El Fuerte, though, much smaller, more characterful town. You've got these wonderful colonial touches here, and just a nice place to spend the final night. So the overall journey across the Copper Canyon might take you something in the region of 4 to 5 days, depending on your preference, and we can work with you on that to decide exactly what your itinerary is going to look like. So you can see here, ending in Los Mochis, the train does go all the way to Los Mochis, and this is where the airport is for the journey to your next destination. And from Los Mochis is actually a relatively short hop over to our next destination, which is Baja California. Baja California is this long peninsula down the Pacific side of Mexico, if you like, and it's bordered on the inside by the Gulf of Mexico and on the outside by the Pacific Ocean. Dotted with small towns. As you can see from this picture, obviously there's a large amount of coastline and some nice beach resorts there, but the interior also very rugged, and you've got these mountains that you can see in the background, and it's a real feeling, you have a feeling of a real frontier landscape here, and you get a very sort of adventurous feel when visiting. Small towns like Loreto, as you can see on the front of this building, the historic capital of the Californias. Baja California, as it's known now, was effectively the first part of the Californias that was discovered and visited and settled by Jesuit priests. So you have a number of Jesuit style and colonial churches and convents throughout, which are 400 or 500 years old, dotted in these little towns, and wonderful town squares, for example, to visit as well. But as I said, landscape is very rugged. There's a lot of desert there, and you get these incredible views of mountains, for example, very intensely blue sea with almost a desert or scrub landscape with giant cacti growing out of it as well. And this is a photo that I took stopping off on the way to one of the places where I was going to do the next activity, which was whale watching. And of course, whale watching is one of the primary reasons that you might go to Baja California. Every year between about late January and early March, the Californian grey whales come down from the seas around Alaska to mate and give birth in the warm waters and the lagoons around Baja California. You will go on a tour on a small boat like this, a small motorboat, and then once you get to a place where they found whales, switch the engines off, everything goes very quiet, and then the whales, which are very friendly and inquisitive, will then approach the boat themselves to come and see what's going on, and you can see from the picture here just how close they're likely to get. And in fact, this is, as far as I'm aware, the only place in the world where you can actually reach out and touch the whales, and that's because the whales themselves come up to see the boats and to see people, because they're very friendly and inquisitive. And this is literally how close you can get. I was lucky enough to be able to reach out and touch whales several times, and this is the proximity of just several meters. It really is an incredible experience for those who are keen on wildlife and marine life. Back onto dry land, though, some of the sort of characterful small towns that I mentioned. These are the tourist towns in the south of the peninsula, such as San Jose del Cabo and Cabo San Lucas, which are very colourful and characterful. You can see these wonderful coloured flags waving here, and they're a nice place to finish your trip. They've also got stunning beaches which look out onto the Pacific, which are mainly lined with large all-inclusive resorts, but there are a handful of smaller, more characterful ones that we know as well. So if you would like to arrange a trip to Baja California to see some of these very different sites and different things that you would find from the rest of Mexico, then please do contact us and we can work out what's best for you. Moving on our trip through Mexico, we're going to fly down now a little bit further south to the city of Oaxaca. Oaxaca is another wonderful, very colourful colonial style city. You can see here from the picture of this main street just how strongly colourful and characterful the streets are, and full of wonderful churches, for example, and the colonial architecture, as you can see here. It's also full of indigenous communities and local dialects, not only within the city but in the area surrounding, and they're very proud of their traditions, and so it's very common to hear local dialects being spoken on the street in Oaxaca, and those people also bring their local their traditions with them when they come into the city. Here, for example, another interior courtyard in a wonderful colonial house. This is one of the hotels, again built into a historical large house, as you can see here, with a wonderful swimming pool, and you can see here on the right, the left-hand side, a local lady doing some of their traditional weaving, still keeping those traditions very much alive, and on the right-hand side, the dried foodstuffs, dried chilies that are used to make the local traditional cuisine. They're very keen on chocolate in Oaxaca, so you'll find a number of chocolate shops and also factories. Here on the left-hand side, you can see a man grinding the roasted cocoa beans and mixing it with the sugar to make a chocolate bar. And here on the right-hand side is the interior of one of the markets with a man playing traditional music on the marimba, the wooden xylophone. Again, very proud of their traditions. Here are a bunch of school children playing traditional music. It's not uncommon to see people congregating together to do something like this. And here a parade for the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, which is also a celebration of ancestors and departed loved ones, is a very important part of the cultural calendar in the whole of Mexico and particularly observed in Oaxaca. Also, to do with the Day of the Dead, it's not uncommon to see around this time shops that spring up selling skeleton or skull-shaped trinkets and handicrafts, sometimes little sugar skulls and things like this. Very much, again, as I said, very much part of Mexican culture and identity. Outside of the city, you also have, of course, archaeological sites. Here, the ruins of Monte Alban, which are up in the mountains just outside of Oaxaca, a very important city from the Zapotec culture, another of the ancient civilizations that was very prominent in central Mexico thousands of years ago. We're going to go live now to Pedro Torres, who is our guide in Oaxaca, and he is going to show us a little bit of what's happening on the street and what local life is like and what people do day to day in Oaxaca. Hello, Pedro.
Good morning, everybody. Morning. I'm here at the capital of Oaxaca state. The capital has the same name that the state, and the original name, it was in Nahuatl, Oaxaca. But here we have a lot of languages. We have 16 different languages. So you can say the name of the city also in Mixteco, Nu, Endube. So that's the name of the city of Oaxaca. And we are exactly in the heart of the city of Oaxaca. This is what we call it Alameda. And you can see a lot of beautiful museums around. We have a lot of artists in Oaxaca, like Tamayo, that he died, but he left a legacy, and also Toledo. So we are very close to the cathedral. Now you can see the facade, a beautiful facade of the Cathedral of Oaxaca. And the earliest bishop came in 1532. So we have 28 old churches that you can visit in Oaxaca, just the old ones, and a lot of beautiful streets with many handicrafts around, many villages that you can visit and discover a lot of treasures in many of these villages. So we are moving to the Zócalo, where you can get a lot of cafes, where you can sit, read a book, or listen to the marimba, or even get one of the most delicious places that we have in Oaxaca, like mole. At the top of the mountain, very close to the city, we have an auditorium for 10,000, more than 10,000 people, where we celebrate Guelaguetza. So Guelaguetza is the most important festival of Oaxaca. And in this festival, we receive the people from the different communities. They come here wearing their beautiful dresses. So it's a festival of a lot of color and a lot of music, bands from all the different municipalities. They come and they play for the visitors. So we are now at the Zócalo. Like I was commenting, at the Zócalo, you can find a lot of different restaurants with local food, international food. And you can find a lot of vendors also that they come from the villages around to offer their handicrafts. And we are moving to the market Benito Juárez and 20 de Noviembre. They are two markets where you can find a lot of food, handicrafts, and you can exercise all your senses. No? All your senses are very active in the market, and you will see how many colors and how many things we can find at the market. So if you decide to come to Oaxaca, you will need your camera to get all these different colors and all these different buildings around the city. We have also archaeological sites: Monte Albán, Mitla, Yagul, Lambitieco, and also we have many regions where you can find other archaeological sites that the visitors, they usually don't have time to go, but they are very attractive, like Montenegro, Yucuita, Diquillú, Yucuñudawi. So all these names are in indigenous languages because, like I said, one of the main features of Oaxaca is the biodiversity and the social diversity. We have 16 ethnic groups and 16 different languages, and many of these languages, they have their own dialects. So you can hear a lot of different languages in Oaxaca. So we are very close to the market, where we will see the grasshoppers that many people, they like to taste. They can make a taco with grasshoppers, or in this market also you can taste chocolate with different kinds of bread. We have many villages that they prepare bread, so we have a very rich variety of bread in Oaxaca. So look the market. We are close to the market, and this is the entrance to the market Benito Juárez. And now you can see they offer empanadas from a small village close to Oaxaca, 30 kilometers, that we call Ocotlan. So we will go to the market, and you will see the grasshoppers. You will see the fruit, you know, delicious fruit. Each season we have different types of fruit. Now we have pineapples, but also, I said, the most attractive thing are the different sizes of grasshoppers, maguey worms, the salad worms, a lot of textiles. No? Here we can see the different textiles from the different regions of the state of Oaxaca. So the festivals are really colorful because you can see so many dresses and from the different regions of Oaxaca. We have 8 different regions. I am in the main one that we call it the Central Valleys of Oaxaca, but there are other regions too. So another good thing that the tourists like here is the cheese. So we have a delicious cheese that we call it quesillo, that is a string cheese, and also we have queso. So all around of Oaxaca is produced the queso and the tlayudas. So here are the ladies selling the tortillas, and you can make your own tlayudas by yourself. You can prepare them, and of course, like I said, we have a lot of vegetables, different kind of chiles, potatoes from the different regions. In the last years, we have an alcoholic drink very popular that we call it mezcal. No? So here you can buy a bottle of mezcal, or these type of tortillas that we call them totopos. Here's the cheese, the Oaxacan cheese, the string cheese that many people like it and buy and prepare their own tlayudas. So the market, I said before, it exercise your senses. Many people they like to visit our markets, and it's a special system because we have a market, a different market around the villages. This is the local market in the city, but we have a different market around the villages in Oaxaca every day. So you can live a different experience every day in the communities of Oaxaca. And now we are moving to the other market, 20 de Noviembre, where you can prepare your meat. You can prepare beef. Oh, this is a delicious chile, a local chile that we call it chile de agua. And these are the guajes, all those pods with seeds inside that you can eat them raw. And those pods gave the name to the state and the capital of Oaxaca. So Oaxaca, it means a place where we have all these legumes with pods and seeds inside. That's the reason of the name Oaxaca, Oaxaca in Nahuatl. No? So I'm moving to the other market, and before the market, this was a plaza that we call it Cortés Plaza because the people of Cortés are right here, and this is the earliest church that it was built when the Spaniards came before the cathedral. We call it the Church of San Juan de Dios. So around the church, you can find pottery, the green pottery from at Sompa. We have green pottery. We have black pottery from San Bartolo, Coyotepec. And also we have red pottery from San Marcos, Tlapazola. So you can find a variety of shapes in pottery in Oaxaca. And we are very close to the entrance now to 20 de Noviembre, my favorite part of the market, because here we have the bread, we have food, and we have we are now at the market 20 de Noviembre, and here is where we have a lot of decoration too in the market. So we have graffitis in the last years in Oaxaca. The graffitis are becoming very popular, and many of the walls are decorated with graffitis. Well, finally we arrived to the main part for me of the market. Here you can find the best thing, the food, different types of plates. You can see the bread, we have, like I said, many different types of bread, the chocolate, and you can enjoy it with champurrado or with chocolate, with milk, or with water, and the area where you can prepare your meat. No, so here's the chocolate with the bread. Look, this plate with sausage and everything that you can prepare in this area that is always smoky. Later it will be busier, and you can prepare your food. Here's already your avocados waiting for you, the nopalitos and the green chiles that we saw before, and you can prepare your beef here, no? And you can do it by yourself, buy your meat here, and after that enjoy the food. So this is, well, just a small sample what is Oaxaca, and we invite you to come and enjoy and exercise all your senses. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks very much, Pedro. Amazing to see there. The being in the middle of the market. It's really the epicenter, isn't it, of local communities. It's where they eat. It's where they work. It's where they buy their clothing. Such an amazing feast for the senses to walk through the market, and being taken on that little short tour there by Pedro almost made me feel like I was there again. So really enjoyable. Thank you very much for that. The next stop on our journey through Mexico is San Cristobal de las Casas, a little bit further south, but also east from Oaxaca, as you can see on the map here. I'm just going to open up the slideshow now. And San Cristobal de las Casas, we were seeing there in Oaxaca the more of a presence of indigenous peoples and Mexicans. In San Cristobal, we find even more of that here. It's a relatively small city. It's located in the highlands, as you can get an idea from with this picture of the mountains surrounding. It's a relatively small scale city, so it's quite easy to get around. Everything's pretty much within walking distance. And incredibly colourful houses and churches, and a lot more of a presence, as I mentioned, of the indigenous peoples and local cultures, not only within the city centres, but also in the surrounding villages that you can visit on a day trip. You can see here, for example, some of the murals showing the sort of indigenous peoples. So again, similar to Oaxaca, it's quite common to see these local people on the street, carrying out their own traditions with their local festivals, customs and celebrations. And of course, again, on the left-hand side, the chilies and limes and things like this that grow locally and inform very much the local traditional cuisine. And you can see here some of the local dress, for example, of some of those communities. So this would be on a festival day. For example, on the left-hand side, people are dressed in this colourful hats, whereas on the right-hand side, just some young wearing the very colourful flower kind of motifs on their skirts and jackets. That's quite common to see there. Outside of San Cristobal de las Casas, you also have wonderful natural landscapes. This is the Sumidero Canyon, which is just an hour or two's drive from San Cristobal de las Casas, an enormous canyon with a river running through it. It's possible to go on a boat trip there through the canyon for a day trip. And as you can see on the right-hand side there are walkways and viewing points where you can get a wonderful view over the top of the canyon as well. We're going to go live now to Guillermo, who is our guide in San Cristobal de las Casas, and he's going to show us a little bit of what local life is like there on the street and what's going on there today. Hello, Guillermo.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
I am Guillermo. I am from Chiapas, and I am working also for as a tourist guide for Veloso Tours. And this morning, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning here in the highlands of Chiapas. 20, 22 degrees more or less. Very nice temperature. And I just want to show you a little about the city of San Cristobal. I am in one of the places where you can have a look and to have clear the idea about the valley of the city, surrounded by the mountains. You know, colorful houses all around, some pedestrian streets. But please don't go away. I am just going to walk down. I just want to show you what is going on down there on the street of San Cristobal. Please just give me a few seconds. This is one of the places where you can, you know, stay here just for a break to have a coffee or tea, or just for a panoramic view from the city. Fortunately, here in San Cristobal, everything is very close, so you don't need a taxi. It's very easy by walking, and also most of the hotels are just few blocks also from the main square. We have 3 pedestrian streets where it's also very easy to, you know, to have a break for a nice coffee, nice tea, or nice chocolate. And what you are looking now up there is one of the churches which is in the east side of the city, Guadalupe Church. So in that way, when the people are around San Cristobal, they can just walk a little, some step up, and then from there, they can see the sunset, which is exactly in the other direction. Check please, what is the temperature? How is this sky and clouds? It's perfect to be here around. Believe me, San Cristobal, the atmosphere is, you know, more than 200,000 inhabitants here, but the atmosphere is like you are in a very, very small town. It's very relaxed to stay around here. We have people from all around Mexico, from North America, United States, Canada, and obviously Europeans as well. So I am sure that after this webinar, you will be ready to prepare your itinerary, and for sure, San Cristobal, Chiapas, the region of Chiapas, is going to be considered in your itinerary. The city is more or less at 2,200 meters above mean sea level. So you can see the people now using the outfit, very, very comfort. Normally, early morning, we have 10, 11 degrees. By noon, 22, 24. And then after sunset, maybe something like 15, 14. So I think it's the perfect weather to stay around here. And we also have some museums, like the Amber Museum, for example, the Chocolate Museum, and something that is also very close from the city center, Santo Domingo. Santo Domingo is one of the ancient convents here in the city of San Cristobal. It's just 500 meters walking from the city center. And right there, they have at present times a fantastic collection of textiles from different regions around San Cristobal, because the valley is connected with different Mayan communities. And so in some way, the outfit, the textiles that they produce, it's part of the identity. So you can imagine the collection of textiles that they have there in the Santo Domingo Museum. I am right here in one of the corners of the Zócalo, the main square, where you can see how busy is the city now. And something else, talking about the museums, one of the museums is the chocolate, where the people, they can learn about the history, and they can also produce their own chocolate. And about the people, foreigners living here in San Cristobal, in the mid of the 20th century, Danish men, Franz Blom, and a lady from Switzerland, Gertrude Duby, they were living here in San Cristobal, and they create a particular museum. Nabolon is the name of that museum, which is something that probably for sure is going to be considered in your itinerary as well. I am right here now, exactly in the center of the Zócalo, where usually we have the bandstand, the kiosco, for local musicians, the wooden xylophone, which is very special also. In that way, people, they can hear and they can dance down there. And so the Zócalo is surrounded by the small hotels as well, small restaurants, coffee shops, handicrafts. So everything here around it's very, very easy. And the activity, the live activities, it's coming back. So just to remind you, my name is Guillermo, and I am part of the Veloso team, and will be a pleasure to see you soon here in San Cristobal, Chiapas, Mexico.
Thanks very much, Guillermo. Great to see there, lots of people on the street, and life very much going back to normal there in San Cristobal, as well as the rest of Mexico. We're going to move on now in our trip across Mexico, and our next stop is Merida. So we're going further east now to the Yucatan Peninsula. This is the big peninsula that sticks out into the Caribbean. And you can see here a slightly more detailed map of the Yucatan, Merida here in the top corner, and just appreciate the number of archaeological sites, which are denoted by the 3 red dots, and also the haciendas denoted by the yellow squares, and the number of different places that you can visit here, both on a day trip and to be able to stay in for a sort of relaxing and very characterful experience at the haciendas, many of which have been converted into luxury hotels. We're going to talk particularly about Merida, the city, though, which is very much the cultural capital of the Yucatan. The Yucatan is now lowland, so it's a very tropical climate and atmosphere, and so you find lots of palm trees, for example, lots of greenery, lots of vegetation, and Merida is very well known for its colonial architecture. You can see here the main square, as I said, very green, very verdant, surrounded by wonderful colonial architecture such as the cathedral. You've got the city hall on the left-hand side there, a number of other buildings of very great importance, and there are a number of other wonderful tree-lined squares around the city. This, for example, is one of the excellent art museums you can see, with the internal courtyard here and wonderful art gallery and exhibition. This is one of the hotels, again built into a historical house. This is the main square in front. There you can see is the reception, and you have the rooms in the house behind. So, and all of these, or the majority of these hotels would be within walking distance of the main square, so everything very easy to get to, and no need to get in a car or anything like that, everything walking distance. A very cultural city, Merida. You find very often these sort of cultural activities like traditional dances, And you can see here the traditional clothing of the Yucatan, the ladies in what are called huipiles, which are white flowing dresses covered in sort of colourful flower embroidery, and even the men, as you can see here, in these white suits and hats, which help them keep cool in the heat, because obviously being in the tropics, it does get very hot during the day. And so even in the evenings, they still use their traditional dress, and this is a traditional dance, for example, that would be common to see in the main square of Merida. Of course, you've got wonderful markets here as well, and you can see the local tropical fruits and vegetables, and this would be part of a tour of the city. And we can even arrange a cooking class, for example, where you would go to the local market beforehand, choose various fruits and vegetables, and then go away to a kitchen and cook and make one of the traditional dishes that you can then taste if you're interested in cooking and local cuisine. And that was certainly one of my highlights of my stay in Merida. There are lots of local cafes and restaurants, and you can sit here in the evening with wonderful weather, so still very warm enough to sit outside and have a drink or perhaps dinner at one of these very characterful restaurants on the edge of a patio. In the surroundings of Merida, you are also really within the Mayan heartland, as we saw on the map before, many archaeological sites. This is one of the most important, called Uxmal, which is made up not only of this sort of oval-shaped pyramid, but huge complex as well, with the Mayan ball court and very ornate stonework and things like this. Here, the perhaps more recognizable Chichen Itza, which is a little bit further away from Merida, but still reachable on a day trip, and many others like this. So if you're interested in the Mayan sites, particularly around the Yucatan, we can certainly arrange this as part of a trip. We have also done a more in-depth webinar on the Yucatan, and we'll provide a link to that if you'd be interested in seeing more about the different activities, Mayan and otherwise, around the edges of the Yucatan. This is one of the haciendas that you can stay in, this one just outside Chichen Itza, and this one a little bit further away. Again, you can see this incredibly characterful colonial architecture away from the city now, very peaceful, and a wonderful place to stay if you'd like to relax for a couple of days as part of your trip. Also around the Yucatan, you have what are known as the cenotes, these limestone sinkholes, which is effectively where the limestone has been eroded and given way and formed sort of underground pools, some of which have quite large openings at the top, as you can see here, some less so, and many of them are safe and have been developed for swimming with walkways to get down to the water's edge quickly and easily. This chap on the left-hand side here was jumping in from a platform, which you can do if you are feeling a bit brave. Equally, this is one of the more of a sort of underground cave with only a very small open area for light inside, and it's almost an experience of underground or cave swimming, which is very particular to the Yucatan, and also a wonderful sort of almost magical experience to be able to swim in this clear water underground. We're now going to go live to Josue, beg your pardon, who's live in Merida now, who's going to show us a little bit of what life is like on the street in Merida and what goes on day to day there. Hello, Josue. Hello, come in. Do we have Josue?
Yes, we do have him, but he looks like he's on mute. So, Josue, if you unmute yourself.
I think I already did that.
Ah, here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, all good. But we can't see you.
Okay.
Here we go. Perfect.
Here we go.
Perfect, amigos. I just want to try to change the screen. One moment, please. I don't focus the other side. To be honest, it's the first time that I do this. How can I? Well,
Tell us about where you are and show us a little of the center of Merida there.
of course, just like my partner before, I want to change the screen to the other side, but I don't know how to do it.
If it doesn't work, then just go ahead as you are.
Okay. Good morning, amigos. My name is Josué Duran Miranda, and I'm right here in the heart of Merida City. I'm very proud to show you my place, my hometown. Do you see? Do you see that I want to show you now?
Yep, we can see the sign of Merida. Looks fantastic.
Exactly. Very nice. This is the sign of Merida with the background of the cathedral. It's like where the people like to come for photos. As you can see, so amigos, I'm very proud to show you my town. Thank you very much for having me here. And I tell you about a little history of Merida. It was founded by the Spaniards in 1542 by Francisco de Montejo, the Conqueror. Used to be an old Mayan city called Iscanchijo or To, which is the small word for Iscanchijo, the city of To. The Spaniards find five principal Mayan buildings that used to dismantle it and destroy, and they build with the same stones of the Mayas the buildings which are around the square, the Plaza Principal or Plaza Grande, as we call it. We don't call it Zócalo as in Mexico City. So I want to show you, I will show you all around the Plaza Principal right here, okay? First of all, the City Hall is right here. It's a building from the 18th century, and the Ayuntamiento of Merida is right here in charge of the cultural programs that take place every day here in the city. Although during this COVID, only a few are activating right now. As you can see, some branches right there with signs for the healthy measures and healthy securities. It has the emblem of Mexico, the Republican of Mexico, and also from here from Yucatan. I continue going around the square. I hope you can see.
Show us a little bit of what the locals are doing.
Right. Well, this is a daily life right here in the plaza, with the characteristic branches in the plaza where people are just sitting and talking each other. Also, if you can see from here, these particular chairs in white color, which are called tú y yo, or you and me, or confident. which is for lovers. So the locals like to come here, sometimes getting love, right? Or just talking among them. It's a very tranquil city. The locals are friendly. That's why many people from other states and other countries in the world like to visit Merida. And speaking about the situation right now is very safe. It's a very safe city. I continue showing, for example, some of the local restaurants here for typical food, which is also another a great example about why Merida is very rich in the gastronomy. It's very delicious, typical food.
Yes, what's the local delicacy there in Merida?
Sorry.
What is common to eat? What's the speciality of Merida?
Well, many different varieties of dishes, which basically are a mix of Spanish and Mayan food. For example, let me tell you, like I told you again, the cochinita pibil.
That's a pork dish, yes?
Exactly, cochinita means pork, and pibil is actually a Mayan word that means buried. So the real typical food, when they make this dish, they still make holes on the ground to cook the cochinita pibil. They use the annatto seed to wrap, to put it in the meat. That's why it became red, and then wrap it all with banana leaves under the ground. That's why the meat get very special flavor. And we used to have for breakfast, for example, especially on Sundays. People here are very traditional, and sometimes we have like a special dish for even for every day. But there are many examples like panuchos, salbutes, lime soup, pokchuk, many varieties of dishes.
Yeah, so people are still eating today the traditional Mayan cuisine. So the Mayan traditions and influences are still very much felt throughout Merida and the rest of the Yucatan, right?
Definitely. A lot of Mayan traditions, customs are still alive, especially in the towns around Merida. This is the capital of the state, but there are 106 more towns around. And most of the people in the towns speak Maya language and have these traditions about Mayas still today.
That's fantastic. So really
hitting-
worthwhile visiting the Yucatan and Merida to get a feeling of the Mayan civilization and the continuing traditions that still go on today. That's one. Thank you very much, Josue. We have to move on now, but thank you very much for showing us what's happening there in Merida and talking to us about the Mayan traditions. And hopefully people will feel inspired to travel there soon. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Josue. We're going to move on now to the coast of the Yucatan. We're going to go to Tulum. As you can see here on the map, it's right in the heart of the coastline of the Caribbean. And here in Tulum, we're talking about beaches, but also, again, these Mayan sites. Tulum is unique in that it is the only Mayan site, the ruin complex, which is actually on the coast. And you can see here from this aerial view just how close it comes to the coast with the wonderful white sand beach next door. So you've got stunning scenery all around. Again, you can see here from a little bit closer up, people there on the beach and the wonderful turquoise waters of the sea. It's quite an extensive site and absolutely worthwhile visiting on a day trip from whether you're at a beach resort or one of the towns further inland. And as you can see here, really some quite intricate stonework that make it particularly interesting for people who would like to learn more about the Mayans and their practices. Very good paths, as you can see here, and quite an extensive site, so worth spending a good 2 or 3 hours walking around the site here. But not only is it an archaeological site, but it's also, of course, on the coast and has a wonderful stretch of white sandy beach, as you can see here. And it's very well known for being quite laid back. You've got wonderful small hotels and beach clubs. You can see from the palapas here, a little bit more laid back than perhaps some of the other parts of the coastline. But it does have a good selection of hotels on offer, from the larger all-inclusive style resorts like the Dreams Tulum to the smaller boutique style hotels like the Rosa del Viento, as you can see here, wonderful sort of wickerwork and rattan worked into the decor, and this one, the Hip Hotel, which has an excellent beach club, and you're just steps from the sea there. We're going to go live now to Francesca, who is there in Tulum, who's going to show us a little bit of one of the small characterful hotels and show us a little bit of the beach as well. Hello, Francesca.
Hi, Nick. Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We cannot. Yes, we can see you now.
Yes, can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Muy bien. Just give me a second to set up for you. Okay. Muy buenas tardes. Buen día. I am Francesca. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Buenos dias. I am Francesca, and I'm happy finally to welcome you here in Tulum. We are right now at the Dune Boutique Hotel, a beautiful place with 22 rooms, right on the hotel strip of Tulum, with beachfront view. And I am not alone today because Jorge told me since this morning that he wants to say something to you. Jorge, hola. Thank you. Gracias, Jorge. Well, I would like to locate you a bit. We are in Tulum, as I said, on the Yucatan Peninsula. From Cancun, where the majority of our guests arrive, 2.5 hours drive. This Yucatan Peninsula is very well known. Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Akumal, Tulum, Bacalar with its magnificent lagoon of the 7 colors. And the best time to travel here, it's from, let's say, November to May. Amazing weather today. We have 32 degrees and I'm enjoying it, even if I'm sweating a lot. Now, come with me. I want to show you something very special, which is part of our Mayan culture, but we have to be very silent. This is the house of the Alush. He is the guardian of our jungle, and we have to pay tribute to him so that he protects La Madre Tierra, our Mother Earth, and of course, all who live. I wanted you to follow me and step into this beautiful place. And in the meantime, I would like to tell you more about what we can do here in Tulum. A must-do for all those who visit our place is the archaeological site, which is the only one who was built on the cliff right in front of the ocean. And his position was so strategic that it allows no enemy, no stranger to enter their city. And Tulum is very famous spot for taking pictures. You will find Tulum everywhere. Another nice archaeological site is the Coba. Coba, it's 1 hour drive from Tulum, and it's a vast Mayan city, which is very, very famous. And I would suggest, if you go to Coba, to visit it with, to ride a bike, because it's so big that it makes the visit more enjoyable. Coba, differently than Chichen or Uxmal or even Tulum, is that it's not only one side. There are a lot of sites around which are connected to the main pyramid through wide roads called sakpes. So if you're really into archaeology or would like to know more about it, it's another must visit. Well, follow me. Let's go and discover more about what we can offer for you. Tulum is indeed a spiritual heaven for all these people that are into meditation, people that are looking for some rest, to find themselves, connection with their inner part. And we have a lot of visitors, a lot of people. Actually, Tulum is very well visited right now. We are full. And we have a lot of possibility if you want to do cacao therapy, if you just want to do yoga session, meditation, Reiki, you name it. But if you're not very much into yoga or meditation or spiritual path, you can do a lot of anyone exercise. You know what? I really suggest a barefoot run on the beach. It's so beautiful at sunset, please, because during the day it's really, really hot. Another very authentic experience you can have, and which is one of my favorite, is we can take you to a very true Mayan community, which is about 1.5 hours drive from here. And we would like to introduce you to Don Manuel and his family. They have their own cropland, and they produce their own vegetables, their own fruits, their own herbs, and they use it for their own use or they sell it. But the amazing thing of this Mayan community is that they still talk Maya, they still follow very much their tradition. It's a really community life, which we unfortunately lost during all these years, and they really protect the one of the other. So in this region, the Yucatan Peninsula is famous for its Melipona bees. Melipona bee is a stingless bee that produces a very precious honey, very expensive though. So we can approach these bees and we're not gonna be hurt. So in this community, you will really find what was Mexico many, many years ago, or the Mayan traditions. And we will visit their houses. We will have a cooking class. We know how to make tortillas, our famous tortillas. And we can visit a cenote close by. And at night, I have a surprise for you. Yeah, it's our pre-Hispanic sweat lodge. It's called Temazcal. So we purify everything. We keep out all the dust we have in ourselves and we purify. But I'm not done yet. Come with me, please. So I am approaching heaven. Before we were mentioning the cenotes. Cenotes are, as a matter of fact, crystal clear lagoons. And we have plenty of cenotes here in Mexico, especially in the Yucatan Peninsula. Remember that our ground is made of limestone bedrock, and rain breaks through the limestone and causes the ground to cave inwards. This creates a hole in the earth, which over years, decades, fills with water, either rain or underground rivers. And we are so lucky to have them here. We have cavern cenotes, which are completely closed. We have semi-open cenotes, or we have the open cenotes. Remember, the cenotes were not the unique main source of water for the Mayans, but it was also the entrance to the underworld, to the Xibalba. And who was in the Xibalba? Chac, the Mayan god, was waiting for us. Other activities, well, we have we can rent a kayak and ride through the mangroves. Beautiful. And well, if you want to have a night out, bam, bam, bam music, Playa del Carmen is around 1 hour drive. Playa del Carmen used to be a very small fishing village. Now it's a cosmopolitan, modern city with a lot of nightclubs. Well, personally, I'm more into this. I need to relax. So I would like to show you how beautiful we have it here. And would like to invite you to Mexico, because if you're planning a destination, this is it. You find peace, you find culture, you find it's safe to travel, and we are more than happy to celebrate life with. Finally, I want to celebrate life with you. Ay, Fran, gracias. Los espero aquí en México. Vengan pronto. Hasta muy pronto. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francesca. This is wonderful. I wish I was having that drink there now. This is one of the, just some pictures of the experience there with the Maya that Francesca was talking about. And of course, the beach is a wonderful way to end the trip, do some excursions, some relaxing, and in a very comfortable environment. So thank you, Francesca. That was a wonderful way to end our tour of Mexico. And that was a wonderful hotel. Thank you. So here we have some examples of the kind of itinerary. We're not going to go through them in great detail, but it would just be a way for you to see how you can allocate some time, how long it would take, what kind of route you could take for your trip, and how much time in at each destination that we have talked about. Is another example, as Nick was referring to, just in the Yucatan, you could take this trip as a self-drive and go to more remote areas that we couldn't obviously cover here, but that we have on another webinar in our website under our service, webinars with experts to Calakmul and complete tour Campeche. And this is another example of an itinerary that you could have in Mexico, Yucatan, which this one is staying in the haciendas, in the luxury haciendas. There is also the possibility of combining Mexico with other destinations, as we can see here, Guatemala, Belize, and Mexico, Yucatan, Mexico, following the route to come back, fly out of Guatemala and including Belize. So if this is an overview of everything that we can do, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find it useful. And so if you have any questions, if there are any questions, Berenice?
We haven't received any question on the chat box, but if anyone wants to say anything, you can raise your question now.
Well, I think it's always possible to contact us. So obviously we had a very comprehensive trip, as you can see, very many different aspects of Mexico, and we'll be ready to answer any questions when you have any. So if you, this is the end of our webinar, and please do contact us with any questions and information that you may need.